My name is Yannick. Hi.
Hi.
I'll be doing the interview for DIFFUS. Let's start right in. For the people that don't know you, who are you and what do you do?
I am Maisie Peters. I am a singer-songwriter. I'm an artist from the UK. I live in London right now, and I am 21.
Nice. When I researched for this interview, I learned that you did a lot of basking early on. So my question is, what influence did basking have on you? How did it hone your skills as a performer maybe, or shape your skills as a performer?
I think it was really influential. I think you learn a lot from busking about how to sort of keep an audience engaged and how much you really, you can't rely on anyone to watch you. You really have to work to that. And yeah, it was also just really good practice in singing and performing and knowing that you're doing something because you love it, regardless of anyone is watching you. That's the whole thing of busking. It's like, really, no one could watch you at all. I definitely used to busk and literally there would be not one person watching, but you just did it because you loved it and because, it made you happy.
It made you happy. That sounds beautiful. You've released two EPs in 2018 and 2019. Now that your album is all done and ready to be released, how does working on an album differ compared to working on EPs?
I think it's just obviously for me, it was just a lot more music. But also I write a lot of music anyway. So really, I think by the time I was making this album, my music making process was a lot more streamlined. So I made a lot of songs when I was making those EPs, but because I was still newer to it, it was a lot more stabs in the dark. And then occasionally you would write something that made sense and it would sort of join the EP. Whereas for this album, I was sort of more experienced and a little bit more aware of like what I was making and how I was making it. So I think that it was a sort of, in a way, it was maybe like a more streamlined process and kind of with more thought put into it.
Did you have a plan going in?
No, I wouldn't say I had a plan. It wasn't like I consciously wanted to write about a certain amount of things and I have a certain amount of songs and have a song like this and a song like this. I don't really write like that. I'm sort of much more freeform and really just sort of go wherever. But I'd say that when I was making it, I had a very clear sort of like compass, like a very clear, I guess, like true north on what it was, like what felt right. And what I was like, that's right. Like that's on the album, that's on the album, that's on the album. And to be honest, a lot of the times it wasn't the only times that things would change was when I would write something better. So like a lot of the songs that didn't make the album, I would say, and I used the joke, and I don't think I'm going to do it anymore, but I used the joke that I was going to make like a sister album to You Signed Up for This called You Also Signed Up for This, like 4 months later with all the songs that didn't make the album. Cause there was quite a few that I really loved. But all of those songs, it was not that they weren't right for the album. They were just beat by other songs that were better.
I see. So let's get to the album You Signed Up for This. In the intro song, and which is also the title song, you mention your sister Ellen. And during my research, I stumbled upon your Save Your Sad Girl Summer format, and I really loved it. My question is, how does Ellen contribute to your artistry? Or how do you ask her for feedback on songs or something like that?
I don't ever ask her for feedback on songs. She's hilarious. We did an interview the other day where they asked her this, and she was like, I never hear Maisie songs before they come out. Half the time she doesn't even listen when they do come out. But she is very supportive and she does like my music, but she's definitely not the person I would go to road test them because I'm not really her musical type.
I see. What inspired the sound of the album? Sound-wise, there's a lot of different things happening, I think.
I think a lot of different music that I love inspired the sound of the album. I was really inspired by all of the music that I grew up on. I'm a big Taylor Swift fan, and Folklore came out when I was writing this album, so I think that was really in the water for it. I think there was a lot of like Killers references that were inspired this album. A song called Between Me and You by Brandon Flowers, which I think is really important to it. Like older stuff, I still think like Simon & Garfunkel and Dolly Parton, that was really in it as well. So I think a lot of different music that I love.
And how did you manage to blend in all those different styles and different influences? Or is it just a subconscious thing that happens?
I think it's kind of subconscious. Yeah, it's mostly subconscious. I think that it's all sort of so layered in as like the sort of music that you love that it sort of is easy. It sort of just comes out naturally in what you make.
In my ears, You Signed Up for This is a very nuanced breakup album. But what would you say is the overarching story of the album?
Interesting. I think there's definitely, there's breakup in it. There's breakup in it.
But a lot of feeling as well.
I think that sort of, to me, it has kind of two themes. It feels like on one hand, half the album is very heady and romantic and young and wistful and teenage and dramatic. And then the other half feels a little bit more grounded, and there feels like a sort of simmering resentment through some of it as well. And it's sort of, I think it's like a realization of like the end of sort of that naivety of being young, where you realize that people can, like, things can happen that shouldn't happen, and life isn't fair, and people can be not who you think they are, and it's not what, you know, things can, I guess,
go downhill.
Yeah, go downhill. Things can not work out as you think they should. I think that sort of is layered through the album as well.
I have one question about Boy, because after listening to it, I believe that it had a different working title at some point.
Yes, it did.
First of all, was it a conscious decision to change it to Boy instead of F-Boy?
Yes, it was. You're the first person that said that to me. That's interesting. Very well noticed. Yes, it was. The song for ages. I mean, can I swear or should I not?
Go right ahead.
Okay, cool. So the song for ages was Fuckboy, and it sang it in the chorus. And at one point it was going to be a single. At one point it was going to come out instead of Psycho before we wrote Psycho. And we were all like, well, I guess we'll just do that. And you're a fuckboy. And then I was working on it, we were doing some more vocals for it. And I said to Joe, and I was like, because I was just with Joe at the time, and then myself and him and Ed wrote it. I was like, Joe, I had like a eureka moment. I was like, I don't think it should have fuck in it, because then we don't need a clean version, but also it's kind of better. It's like you're suggesting it, but you're not saying it. And it's also kind of funny because it's like even without that, like, it's like, you're a boy. Like, you're a boy. And I just thought that was really funny and so much better. And we did it, and we were like, I think this is better. And then we had to convince everybody else. But I think everyone else came around pretty quickly. And also live, it's going to be so fun to be like, you're a boy.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited. But yeah, it was fuckboy for ages.
Are all boys and men toxic? And if yes, what can we do to be better?
No, not all. I don't think all boys and men are toxic. I have a lot of very wonderful, great male friends and guys that I know. So absolutely not. Boy does really cast a shady lens upon the male.
But I get it. Somehow, I really get it.
No, not all guys. But a couple that I've come into contact with, I guess, got burned by that song.
And rightfully so.
And rightfully so.
One subliminal topic that keeps coming up in some verses of the album is this demonization of ex-girlfriends by men, which I think happens a lot when there's a male fragile ego involved. But what's your take on this slut-shaming phenomenon and demonization thing?
That is so interesting. I didn't even know that, but I guess it's true. I think I immediately thought of, which is like an interesting song to reflect that on, but I have a song called Villain, which I sort of demonize myself as well. And I love that song, wrote it with a friend of mine called Rob Milton. And I thought that song was really fun because a lot of the album, I think that's actually an interesting, like a trait of being like, I wrote this album like 19, 20. And I think I'm very like righteous in a lot of this album. I think I'm very much like, you hurt me and I'm sad about it, and you were bad and I'm just going to talk about it. And I think that's great. And there is so a time and a place for that. And and that's necessary to sing about. And like Olivia Rodrigo's just made a whole album about it. And I think it's so fucking good. I'm obsessed with her and with Sour. And yeah, I think it's amazing. But I like Villain because there's sort of a bit more like ambiguity too. Not ambiguity, but it's more nuanced to it. I think because it's a song that I wrote later on in the process. And I love the idea of sort of singing and being like, I'm not the good guy in the situation. And you're not, and you're not doing anything to stop it, even though like I go, like, of course I wanted you to change, but you didn't. Of course I want you anyway. And it's, I really like the acknowledgement of the fact that you do know better, and like and I think there's a lot of time in that as well. Like, you do know better, but you're choosing to not do better.
But I mean, it also kind of ties back to the second song of the album, that you're trying, because there you also, you say you're bitter, you're this and that, which I think is crazy to hear, that you're beating yourself up about something that happened to you in a way, I think I'm Trying is so fun. I love that song because it feels so like frantic. It's sort of, I'm singing about so many different things. And actually a fun thing about that song is like, for me, it's not specifically about one person. It's about like two or three. And it feels like super frantic. And I'm like covering so much ground. And, I think you can really hear that I'm like kind of trying to I'm like grappling with a lot of stuff. And I like haven't really worked out any of it. But I'm just like, I'm like trying. And I think there's something really
fun, and it also feels really like immature, a lot of it, which I love. And I was like, I was like 20 when I was writing it. I'm 21 now. Like, I love that whole middle eight where I go like, we're nice to her in public because to his new girlfriend, because we're so grown up and we're so mature. And it's like the whole song is just, it's just basically a song about me not actually saying what I mean to anyone ever, and no one saying what they mean to me. And like, I just think that's really, I think that's really funny and accurate.
Worked out pretty well.
It did.
How would you describe You Signed Up For This in 3 words? I've prepared 3 words as well. I'll give you mine after.
Oh God, okay. Oh my God, that's really hard. I think this is cheating, but the best album.
Okay.
It's too hard. I can't do adjectives.
That's all right. I had unapologetic in a way.
Nice.
Bright, relating to both your bright lyrics and the bright sound and colorful sound of the album. And 1989, which is my favorite Taylor Swift album. I just get the same vibes. Oh, not the same, but similar vibes.
Thank you so much.
In a way.
That means the world. I think that's objectively the best Taylor Swift album. So I'm very, very pleased. Like, obviously, I'm a huge Swiftie.
I know.
In the world. So I think everybody knows. I think the entire world knows. I literally do not shut up. But no, that's so cool. And a lot of 1989 as well, when we were finishing the production for a lot of these songs, there was we were listening to, like, to me, like John Hughes movie is very style influenced. And the song called This Love on 1989, which influenced like Outdoor Pool a lot. But yeah, there's definitely like sonically a lot of the world of that 1989, which I loved.
Just the energy of it too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Really cool. Well, that concludes the interview.
Thank you so much. That was so fun.
Thank you.
Great questions.
Oh, that's thank you very much. When will we see you in Germany or in Berlin maybe?
I would love to come to Germany or Berlin. I'd love to go anywhere that's not my house. Hopefully, I don't know. We'll see what the world says. But I mean, I'd love to come this year. Hopefully. Let's see. Let's hope for the best. Well then, Maisie, thanks for your time. Thank you. No, thank you so much. It's been so fun.